The 13th century Dominican blessing. Let us all be aware of God's abiding presence in our midst. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. May God the Father bless us. May God the Son heal us. May God the Holy Spirit enlighten us and give us eyes to see with, ears to hear with, hands to do the work of God with, feet to walk with, and mouth to preach the word of salvation with. And may the angel of peace to watch over us and lead us at last by our Lord's gift to the kingdom. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
You may now be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. Now I'm sure everyone here is excited to listen to what our speakers have in store for us today. To officially begin today's program, it is my great pleasure to introduce the Assistant Manager of TOMASInno Center, Professor Michael Francis Benjamin, PhD.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to our UST administrators, the IC staff, faculty members or academic staff, students, guests, and fellow innovators. We are very thankful that you took the time to be with us in this event. It is a pleasure to welcome you in this session about startup founders, which is part of the Philippine Startup Week. So the title is Shaping Future Founders: How Schools Propel Innovation and Entrepreneurial Growth. So the organizers are as follows: Cerebro, TOMASInno Center, and Grace Hub as the lead organizers. So this year's session focuses on how a university can provide an ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship. Several studies show that university education and policies influence the likelihood that its faculty and even its graduates and students will become entrepreneurs. And another recent study demonstrated that an approach to commercializing university technologies via student-led development through the use of business models. To date, TIC has already trained about 45 incubatees and startups. 3 out of the 45 already got external funding for their companies. Why do we need more startups? Because they contribute to economic growth, and at the same time, similar with UST and TIC's goal, they have the potential to transform our society. Startups succeed because they address or meet the needs of a specific segment of the society, and that is all what we desire. Today, you will hear the startup journey of 4 Thomasian founders that excelled in their chosen field, path, or career I hope that we will not only learn principles from their testimonies as founders, but also given the chance to apply these principles to make an impact to our society. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for that one, Professor Benjamin. Okay, welcome everyone to this insightful session where we delve into how USC has shaped the journey of our esteemed alumni and students. My name is Rovi, and I'll be one of your moderator alongside Mr. Noel Aban. Today, we're joined by an incredible panel of Thomasian founders who have transformed their learnings into successful ventures.
Thank you. Thank you, Rovi. It's a privilege to moderate this discussion and explore the impactful stories of our entrepreneurs. As we prepare to uncover their time at UST, how the university influenced their entrepreneurial paths and subsequent successes, let's first hear from them directly.
Panelists,
Can we invite you to please have a seat with us? Sige, Josh. Diyan na lang ako, Robbie. Okay. Good afternoon, panelists. Can I please request you to please introduce yourself and what your venture is all about, and especially how UST contributed to your success. Probably we can start with Kurt.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Kurt sorry. Okay. Hello, I'm Kurt Gutierrez. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Dormy. And essentially, we are an online marketplace for looking for properties for rent. So by the name itself, it all started with a dorm hunt in UST post-COVID. So in terms of UST's contribution to this startup, essentially it wouldn't exist if I did not face that problem. So Dormy is backed by DOST and HG Lab, and we have over 25,000 users as of date and around 540 properties on the platform. So what we're trying to do is to digitize the lead-to-lease process, so from search to payments and move-in, and that's the innovation that we're trying to introduce to the Philippines. So hope that gives you guys a good brief, and please visit dormy.ph.
So, Sir Kurt, what do you mean by you cater to the different needs of the market? Are you booking for them, or looking for reservations and everything?
Yeah, so for us, currently we are a classifieds platform, but we're slowly trying to develop a monetization feature which would allow people to book a viewing, sign a lease contract, go through an EKYC process for security reasons, and then conduct monthly recurring payments on the platform. So the reason why we built this is because you look at parallel platforms like Airbnb. So Airbnb would be focused on vacation stays, and the way you rent or at least book a place at Airbnb, Agoda, Booking.com, it's just a tick mark terms of service which does not apply for month-long stays that would require longer-term lease contracts. So that's the part that we're trying to kind of introduce to the country, and that's the market gap that we saw. So there's no digital platform for residential leasing, but when you look abroad, say Malaysia, the UK, the US, they all have very extensive tech-based ways of renting properties for residential purposes. So that's what we're trying to introduce.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you.
Next.
So hello,
Josh, go ahead.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josh Kenveray. I'm currently a third-year computer science student under the College of Information and Computing Sciences. And I'm also a CEO for Clashbytes, where we are a learning platform that reimagines education, transforming it into an interactive, engaging, and rewarding learning experience.
So Josh, can you explain it in layman's term? What do you mean by designing a learning platform?
Yeah, so currently, our learning platforms available to the masses are like Coursera, edX, which are what we see is that one-dimensional learning, that it's not really reinforced towards the students. And what we're trying to do is we want to be with the students from 0 to 100 by implementing courses that requires the students to actively learn alongside the video, so that they would be required to type in some codes following the curriculum step by step.
I heard that the methodology employed is through gaming. Tama ba?
Yeah, so what we want to coin ourselves would be similar to Duolingo, but for programming. That's the goal that we're trying to achieve.
Is it really possible to learn through gaming?
Yeah, so there's a lot of studies out there backing gamification towards making it more fun, interactive, but at the same time reinforcing learning so that they would be able to remember it. At the same time, also consistently having that reward system so that they would be consistently investing themselves towards learning.
Would you say that the current generation, the Gen Z and the Alpha Gen, would normally learn through other means rather than the conventional lecturing, case study that we normally implement in schools?
Yeah, so there's a lot of games out there played for students and even like people in general, and that's our target audience. What if we make a learning application that tries to push learning more? And that's what we're trying to go for. Like, if we can gamify learning and make it more interactive, and especially the rewarding concept, we would be able to push for more people to learn how to code.
You mentioned about rewarding, so you get to have money, or ano
I
ba yung
guess,
ibang tawag?
In-game rewards, yeah. Rewarding all of the hard work that our students within the platform do, within like experience points and everything, so that they would have like digital assets within the platform that they would be used.
Mas importante kaya yun, no? Parang kesa grades. Well, we'll see, no? Thank you, John.
Yeah, and that's a good incentives to give, right? And that's on a point system, correct?
Yeah, on the point system. And we really want to transition later down the line through partnerships. And as soon as we would be able to scale, because we haven't really launched yet, if we would be able to scale, we would be partnering with organizations, companies, so that we would be able to bridge the education to employment gap by having top talent in the platform be scouted directly and be given job opportunities later down the line.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much.
Kenjo, sorry. Mas kilala kita as Josh. Thank you. Ma'am Christina.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christina, founder and CEO of Alerto. Safer communities before, during, and after emergencies and disasters using smart city technologies. So I wanted to introduce my background first from UST, because as you figured out, Alerto is a tech company. But actually in UST, I came from the College of Fine Arts and Design, major in advertising arts. So how it helped me, because our number one rule in CFAD is to think outside the box. And of course, we specialize in making a compelling visuals, in communicating visually to make a powerful message that sells, right? So that's my background. And with that, back then, we have the softwares and they really look bad, right? During like 10 years ago, I would say. And of course, as someone who's into design, combining that, how do we make beautiful products and also making it valuable as well? So that's always been my passion, to build something beautiful and also valuable. So that inspired me to become a founder, to build my own product, because I also code and, of course, sell it, make it beautiful, and make it compelling enough for people to use it. Yeah.
So how would you make the connection between coming up with aesthetics and that of security?
Right. So when we think of design, we always think about graphics, right?
Yeah.
But actually, design is more than that. It's actually the user experience. We have beautiful design because it's pleasing to the eyes, right? But we also have design to make our lives simple, to make it, for it to function the right way, right? Because there are products that are, we spend so much in building products, but it doesn't really give value to the people who will use it, just because of simple user experience issues, right? So that's also, how do I connect it to security, right? Well, because here in the Philippines, we do have the CCTV cameras, right? But right now, we're only using it for documentation. So if someone, there's an intruder in your shop, in your business, and the CCTV will capture that. But that's it. It just captures it. Now, what we offer at Alerto is in real time, while the intruder is in the shop taking things, the police is on the way.
Okay.
Yeah, to catch the intruder. So that is a better design of a security service and product. So design is not just in designing beautiful stuff, but designing the overall product and services that you can offer to your customers.
It's basically the user friendliness and how you make use of the system
Yes.
that makes it aesthetic and user friendly at the same time.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear that design is not just about the aesthetics, but also considering the experience of the customers. Right. Thank you.
Sir Beans?
Yes, sir. Hello. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah. Tell us about your story.
So, first of all, thank you for having us here. Thank you for the University of Santo Tomas for giving us the opportunity to talk about our startups. And thank you also dahil tinabi niyo ako sa mga gandang host. Nagmukha tuloy akong alalay. So my company is called Mylo Speech Buddy. It's a speech development system for children with autism and speech delay. So it's something that we started because initially my son was diagnosed with autism. So when he was diagnosed, it was really hard for us to find the experts. It took us a year and 6 months to find a doctor, a speech therapist, and an occupational therapist. So para i-translate yun sa nakikinig right now, it's 1 year and 6 months na delay sa development ng anak ko. 1 year, 6 months na delay sa bawat bata na may speech delay at autism. And that 1 year, 6 months is actually a long time for a child to develop. So what we did is we developed an app. The app is very basic. It hurts. It's actually a streaming app. Streaming the most basic words. You know, when I talk about the most basic words, we talk about, for example, me, you. Ang anak ko, hindi siya nagsalita up until 4. His first word, dog. Kami ng asawa ko, iyak kami. Tapos cat, iyak na naman kami. Tapos daddy, amayo. Which is daddy, I love you. So from there, we actually used the app, released it last July. We got more users, we listened to the customers. Yun nga, sabi nga ni Christina kanina, design is focused on the user themselves. We are actually solving a problem that exists. It's my problem, my challenge, every day of our lives. And copy-paste that to thousands of parents all over the Philippines. So that's what we're addressing right now. We started July last year. We're a little bit over a year old, but we're currently 60,000 users in more than 60 countries globally. So, yun yung si Mylo Speech Buddy. And the second question, paano ba nakatulong si UST sa development? I think right now, it's very important yung 3 C's natin. I'm not sure if the same pa rin. Commitment, compassion, and competence, right? I would like to reiterate on the compassion. Diba? We're doing this because alam namin na there are thousands of children who really need help. Our experts right now, they also need help. So Mylo Speech Buddies, hindi siya pamalit sa mga experts natin. We are just a tool. Assignment lang kami para before and after therapy sessions, may nagagawa sila. And of course, it is something that we really do day in, day out. So I have no choice. It's my life. It's my son's life. So we got to do what we got to do, right? So that's, we are a mission-based startup. And our mission is to really help as much children as possible. So I think that's how UST has helped us in terms of growing our company.
So the company basically translates languages ba into a more understandable parang medium?
Yeah, like how does it work?
It actually works. It works like this. So it's video. So it shows how a word is being pronounced. So for example, me and you. Paulit-ulit, me. We take it for granted because us, neurotypicals, we get to learn words fast. For my son, I got to repeat it for a week. I got to repeat me and you for a week. And after a week or so, after repeating it, nagagaya niya yung me, you. Right now, at 4, hindi nagsasalita. Pero right now, at 7, nagsasabi na yun na parang, Daddy, are you okay? Ang pinakagusto ngayon right now, Daddy, can you buy me toy? Yung ibang magulang, di ba? Bilhin ng toy. Ay, no. Ako yung bilhin ng toy, anong gusto mo? Kasi parang it grows and it grows. And it actually follows through yung mga ginagawa ng mga experts natin. Which is kailangan talaga nila ng assistance.
Thank you. Corby, would you like to say something?
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it's really great to know how the university has contributed to your entrepreneurial growth, right? And for Josh is new now, right? So you're from College of, Kurt is from the College of Medicine, CICS, CFAD, Fine Arts, and
HRM. Ang layo.
Oo nga, pero sige. It's all about people naman di ba?
Malayo.
Thank you for those introductions. It's really amazing to get started with how are you as a student, right? Okay, hearing about your ventures reminds us of the profound impact that formative university experiences can have on our professional journeys. Now, with that in mind, let's delve deeper. Can each of you share a transformative experience from your time at USD that played a critical role in your path to becoming an entrepreneur? Would you like to start, Vince?
Critical? This is televised, no?
Yeah.
Okay, noted. One of the things that really helped me, because during the college days, I'm HRM, right? Unlike other colleges, HRM before, we don't have stocks. Yung mga kailangan namin lutuin, binibili namin sa labas. And during that time, of course, estudyante ka, wala kang budget. Di ba? Unlike other schools, they buy everything for them.
Oh, it's already provided.
Yes. But in a way, it taught me something very important. I get to learn to look for ingredients. I get to be resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
And nagkataon na nakatira ko sa Pasay noon. So ibig sabihin, yung mga classmates ko, papasok pa lang sila ng school, ako namamalengke na ako sa Cartimar. Natutunan ko rin mag-negotiate. Kasi suki, tawad. So, alam mo yun, during that time, it was very important in development. I was able to get an experience na hindi nakukuha ng iba. Because during that time, pwede ako mag-purchase. So during that, it actually helped me out. You know why? A couple of my first businesses before are restaurants. So I get to find suppliers, I get to find yung tamang presyo, diba? I get to find, for example, magkano ba yung costing nito? And nafe-feel ko talaga on how a business should manage its finances. Unlike when you work in a kitchen, in a corporate style, you only get to focus, for example, on cooking. That's what's very important on the management style, on hotel and restaurant management of UST. Hindi siya focused, hindi siya centralized. So in terms of learning, we learn about management. So paglabas ko ng UST, nagbukas ako ng restaurants. To a point na I got like 3 branches before the pandemic.
Oh, so that's right after you've graduated.
No. I also work in the hotel industry. And at the same time while working, I had businesses as well, which I'm very fortunate because pinayagan naman ako ng mga boss ko during that time.
Wow.
But going back, what's the most important thing? I think it's that in UST, we're not given everything. Hindi tayo binibigyan ng lahat ng pwede.
Yeah.
Totoo yun, di ba? Natatawa kayo.
So you become resourceful.
Those are very important in development.
Yeah,
Being
and negotiation.
resourceful, negotiation. Di ba? We take it for granted. Tapos, we get to encounter problems, challenges. Bata pa lang ako, dito pa lang ako sa UST, may mga challenge siya. Walang stocks dito, walang stocks doon. Ano gagawin mo? Iyak? No, punta ka sa iba, hanap ka sa iba, etc.
Yeah.
So it's very important, but I use it. It's very important for the development. Anyway, I have too much time, sila naman.
That's really great to know. Like, at an early age, you've already learned how to negotiate, right? Being resourceful. It's nice. Now, let's move to Christina.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm one of those, I'm sure you have classmates or blockmates. Now you think, oh, this is very, very active in terms of extracurricular activities. Well, I'm one of those students. Like I'm everywhere. So I actually run for the student council. And at that time, I chose to be the secretary. But after that, maraming blank na position, so I actually had the opportunity to take the vice president position, but I didn't. I stick to secretary, to being a secretary, and it was tough because actually in the student council, it's like everyone is out there on the stage, everyone is visible, but the secretary is actually the most, the busiest, paperworks and all, and then it's like you don't actually get like the credit you deserve. Like all the programs that was basically run by the student council, you drafted all of those, and I think that improved my the way I deal with paperworks, and because you have to submit these papers and get the approval.
Yeah.
Like if there's a typo, okay, like do you really have to reprint everything, or you can just well, talk to the person in charge to make everything simpler, right, and faster. And how it helped me, because Alerto actually is also a GovTech. So it is important for us to deal with government, with the LGUs, and also we are part of the first cohort of the DICT Startup Grant Fund. And I think my experience being a secretary helped, because I kind of like, it's not a fun thing to do, but it's something that I can tolerate doing. Yeah. And it is very important if you're going to apply for government grants that you actually have the patience to deal with all the paperworks and deal with the people in charge, right? And I'm sure that Kurt can attest to that. Yeah.
What about CFAD itself? What support or resources did it provide to propel you to become an entrepreneur? Kasi kaya I'm asking that question. Kasi I'm teaching entrepreneurial mind to CFAD students, and I can't seem to figure out to myself kung ano ba talaga ang kailangan. Basta as far as I'm concerned, CFAD might go into a business, an art, or even art exhibitions or whatever. Pero what are the needs? What supports did CFAD provided to you?
As I said, I was very like Miss Extracurricular, and I feel like I can just go into talk to a department like and get what I want. And I think not everyone is able to do that. And I think if you just do that, you actually get the resources you want to have. Yeah, but I think for CFAD kasi advertising arts, but I think they changed the main applications. I think now their mentality is already like to sell a product. So because that's our training. How do we sell a product visually, right? How to make so like
Cell phones.
yeah. Well, like, we can just say this
The
pillow,
pillow.
right? Like, why would you choose this pillow over a pillow that's like plain white, right? But it's not. We're not saying that no one would buy the plain white. It really depends on the target customer, right? On how. So how would you sell something like this one to a person versus? Of course, you cannot sell something as colorful as this to a person who's very formal because obviously that person would prefer something else. People from CFAD, well, for visual communications, they are trained to sell products. So they're already in the business. I think what's missing is another skill set so that let's say they can create food. In my case, I love to code. I'm also into programming. So that's why I was able to combine it. I built my product and also I can market it. So I think that's the missing component. These people can sell. Now combine them with another students who can actually build a product. And then group them together and they will be a very powerful team. Yeah. That can start a company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to know how the CFAD or the Fine Arts and Design value visual communication without you even saying a word, right? Just through the pictures of how you built it or designed it, right?
Mag-enroll
It's
ka na.
nice.
Mag-enroll ka na.
Malapit ka. Close. Now let's go to...
Yes, I guess I should start saying na siguro from an early age, siguro since I was here during senior high school, ever since back then, naging BS Org yung connotation na you've always joined organizations, and that in itself taught me how to be resourceful because I've always reflected myself choosing on the audit, like team auditor, like auditing. And now as I continue to transition towards, developing Clashbytes, it's very technical. But this is where all the skills I've learned towards being resourceful, like project management in itself, I was able to transition those skills that I've learned from joining various organizations into something tangible that I'm currently working on, which is Clashbytes. And that in itself was a transition I later realized once I was doing it, because I guess it was very technical at first, and then you tend to see the lines that wherein they converge, and then light bulb moment, nag-connect sila. And that really made it so na it all becomes one cohesive message, one cohesive piece that ultimately works at the end.
Are they supporting startups, CICS?
I guess we are the first. I'm not entirely sure, but within CICS, I really do want to mention one of our profs, which is the department chair for computer science, Ma'am Chair Estabillo, who was very supportive of us since the very beginning, from our first hackathon. Because Clashbytes really originated from a hackathon win, like a back-to-back hackathon win, which is really rare. And that's when we found the idea na this could be a product that can help a lot of students, at the same time that can give value towards education. So that's where we transitioned. From there, Ma'am Cherry really helped us push the idea and ultimately leading to joining TAC as an incubator. And inside TAC, we really saw a lot of opportunities, and the modules in itself really helped us to develop the entrepreneurial mind that we have. Because personally, I didn't take the entrep elective for mine because I chose philosophy because I love
Ayaw mo kong teacher.
because I love philosophy genuinely. So yeah,
okay.
so that gap was filled because of our Miss Cherry, Ma'am Cherry, and looking back at it, it's really, I think like all of the things aligned so that it would work out in the end. Because I guess CS is a very technical course without the entrep side of things, and that being filled was ultimately a great step up because it's part of what makes a startup.
I would agree. I think you're one of the most luckiest because you're a student now. During our time in different colleges, the entrepreneur mind is not available in all colleges, right? So we have to get our skill or learn our skill on a different subject or different activities, right? So that's great.
Kurt, would you like to?
Hello, everyone. So, just for some quick context, no? So I am from the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. So, my bachelor's was the Leap Med program, if you guys are familiar. So, what I really learned in UST and what helped me is both a good and a bad thing, is that I learned how to deal with pain. Because when I was in first year, I talked to a senior, so graduating na siya, so doctor na siya ngayon. We had this conversation, tinanong ko, how's UST ba talaga? And I can't forget what he said. UST is a baptism of fire. Literally, right? Kasi I think when you're in UST, first you have to deal with the load of academics, right? So we all know yung schedule ng UST, when you compare it to other schools, it's quite tighter. So it's really hard to, make seeing it yung mga gusto mong gawin sa buhay mo. And then at the same time, you learn to deal with bureaucracy, gaya nga nung nasabi ni Miss earlier, right? So, yes, you want to build stuff, but then you have to deal with a maze. That's both a good and a bad thing. Good because UST is able to kind of keep up its own standards, but then bad thing because like sometimes there are some things that you just want to deploy ASAP. So essentially, you have to develop some form of grit in order to really build the things that you want, right? So what are key examples of this? So if you guys remember nung pandemic, there was the UST Minecraft project, right? So that was us. That was our team actually. So we had to get through like multiple kind of heaps and bounds to kind of deploy that project properly. And then when I was in undergrad, I kind of wanted to build an org for the course. So I was trying to start a society for the program. But then if you look at the requirements of trying to build an org in UST, right? So it would take you ages, and then there are really strict timelines to work with. So yes, bureaucracy will train you, but at the same time, it can limit you. Now, the challenge and the learning, so both learning and challenge, is how do you bend the world to your will? I think I read a nice article about this from YC, right? So some of the best startup founders are the ones who can kind of shift the world into their own favor, right? So I mean, look, who knew that a med student would start a rental real estate company, right? So that's what I learned in UST. It's just that if you really, really want to solve a problem that you really feel that is something that you can solve and something where you can kind of like leave impact, there are some pains that you'll have to deal with, and it's never gonna be a pretty journey, right? So I think day one, when you're coming from senior high school and then you jump into UST, that's the first slap in the face that you'll get na, hey, welcome to UST. I think your first exam in UST is always a welcome to UST moment, because then you start to realize, okay, I can't be the same high school kid back then where the night before ka lang, you'll prepare for your exam. Kasi eventually, you'll really get burnt out, and it's having to deal and manage and mitigate those pains that kind of shifted the favor towards developing the skills that are necessary to become a founder. Because I think Sir Vincent would know this. The startup life is, yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like, objectively speaking, it's not easy because every month you have to think of, okay, what's my burn? So for the non-startup people here, so burn is like how much are you spending per month, how much you're earning, mamamatay na ba yung company ko next week? Tibong ganun. So that's the constant game that you're playing in the startup scene, especially if some things aren't working out. So in USD, you have to deal with, okay, what if something works out? What do you do with it? And you have no choice but to deal with it. And the same goes with the startup life, right? So I think that's one of the key components in USD. But if we're talking about like the college, so sa Faculty of Medicine, the dean is very supportive. So, Dean O, saan yung camera? You're the best. So, kasi she's very supportive of activities and at the same time making sure that you really balance things with academics. So, for example, I'm part of the medicine debate team kasi last year. So, if you get sent out to places to compete, as in, she will kind of provide incentives every now and then, and you really do get that sense of motivation that you're seen and you're being supported by the faculty in doing the things that you want that would nurture you and build you better as a person. But yeah, at the same time, they always remind you na, hey, you're in this program, so it is painful and it will be painful, but at the end of the day, the goal is that you come out of the challenge better than before. So I think that's the key learning experience that USD brought me.
Kurt, I've been teaching in LeapMed for 3 years already, and I noticed that the students are very entrepreneurial. What's in the LeapMed course that encourages them to become innovative actually?
I think it's just the personalities that the program attracts. So for everyone's information, the LeapMed program, among like let's say the 40,000 applicants in USTET every year, it only takes it'll cut off the first 200 na ranking on USTET scores, and then they go put you through an interview, and then you become the final 90, and usually every year around 70 students become part of the program. The reason why the evaluation process for LeapMed is intensive is because you will spend the next 2.5 years of your life without a summer. So tuloy-tuloy ka lang. So you finish your bachelor's degree in 2.5 years, right? So that's the main perk that you get. But you have to have enough kind of like mental toughness to go through that. And with an evaluation process like that, Prof, so I think you will attract personalities who are innately driven because the studying that you have to do to get through the USTED, to get through the LeapMed exam, to get through 3 levels of evaluation, and to rank among the top 200 of the USTED takers, it takes some level of personality development that would reflect or at least have a low barrier to entry towards transitioning towards to becoming an entrepreneur. So, kasi these people, being an entrepreneur probably is all about grit, mental toughness, and navigating your own way. So I think I would go as far as to say programs like this would attract like type A personalities or whatnot. And then, kaya nagkakaroon ng kind of like easy transition towards entrep. So I think that's the reason.
Yeah, I think the LeapMed students are very innovative. What about the College of Medicine, the year after the LeapMed?
Yeah.
LeapMed is 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's 2 years. I would say the same. Because, as you know, UST is one of the top medical schools in the country, right? So there's high NMAT cutoffs. It will attract the same types of personalities. So it's not an uncommon thing where in a classroom, there's probably like 20 different business owners. Every year, may nagbebenta ng med bag. May nagbebenta ng mga adik-adik. Uso ngayon yun eh. So there's like 3 different students doing that. There's people selling mga cases for your MacBook, and there's like 6 different friend groups selling different types of merch, and then dami ring influencers. Alam niyo man yun, UST Med, diba? So, yeah, I think cultures are built with the types of personalities that are present in the program. So in UST Med, similar na rin to LeapMed, right? So in UST Med, the evaluation process is kind of tough. I have not met a student in UST Med right now who doesn't have Latin honors, at least in my class, right? So, kasi a lot of people want to study in UST Med, and so it will attract those personalities. And again, those types of personalities will probably have a low barrier to entry in converting into an entrepreneur. And I think those are really the core reasons why.
Okay, Rovi, with your permission, can I segue a little bit?
Yes.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
have a question. How important is mathematics to innovation?
You asked the right person. Because when I was studying, the subjects that I liked, I performed well. On mathematics subjects.
Wow.
No. On the mathematics subjects. Ano lang ako? 2.753. But I did have
Mas
classes.
mataas sa akin.
I did have classes that I have once, but then again, for math, it's not. I'm not the expert on it. So in a way, right now, if you ask me, would that translate a good entrepreneur to a good entrepreneur or not? I think right now, where we are, there are a lot of solutions to a lot of problems. And these solutions are available. For example, in terms of managing our financials, there are already third-party suppliers for it.
That's true.
It simplifies our tasks. But then again, I know sa sarili ko na hindi ako magaling sa math. But I wanted to say this earlier.
Okay.
The difference between this is something I think that is high time that we mention. Kasi kanina we're talking about how the university helped us. But I would like to mention how it did not help us during that time. Why I'm mentioning this right now? Because I think it's high time for us to learn this as Thomasians as well. It's okay to make mistakes. Ang ganda na sinabi kanina ni Kurt, na be ready for pain. Because when you're ready for pain, you're willing to make mistakes. And I think before, we were really looking at competence, right? We want to be the best. And for you to be the best before, you have to have like good grades, tuloy. But then again, some of the entrepreneurs, the high-performing ones as of now, are not actually like top performers in academics. Some of the guys who are actually doing really well are just not afraid to make mistakes. I think that's one thing that it's something that can answer your question earlier. Ano ba yung meron? May mga tao na hindi takot magkamali. May mga tao na hindi takot magbenta kahit alam natin na meron silang image na dapat pangalagaan. Right? And I think as Thomasians, we should recognize that. In a class, there's one student na medyo pasaway. In a class, there's one student na marami extracurricular. But they're not academically gifted. On the other hand, kapag tinignan mo yung extracurricular nila, uy, ang galing ah. Out of 50 students, there are 2, 3, 4, 5 who are performing really well because they have the mission. They really do what they want to do. They sell bags, nagpa-participate sa mga sa student council, pasaway. I mean, there are really a lot of things that has changed, and entrepreneurs really are the ones who tackle problems head on, despite it being very challenging. And math is a challenge.
Exactly.
That's true.
We just have to find solutions on how to solve it.
Christina?
I think there's a context to math. Because I have to be honest, ever since I didn't like math, right? I didn't pay attention to it. But I graduated with Latin honors in USD, right? But I didn't pay attention to it, like, right? Because I'm into design at that time. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm also into computers, in programming. So where, of course, programming is then math. But when I look at computer, I didn't think about it as math. I just know that I'm solving problems using computer languages, right? So if you want to be a founder or entrepreneur, all you need to do is, if you're not good in math or you don't like it, you just, cross out math and equate it to accounting. Then now it's two different things, right? Because when you say math, oh, I'm scared of math, yeah, it depends, because if you're in school and you're talking about calculus and stuff like that, I mean, saan mo ba gagamitin yun in the future, right? It really depends on what you want to be, on what you want to do with math. But math is everywhere. Like, we can create a digital copy of our world using math. That's how powerful it is. It just depends on the context that you want to equate math with in your lives, or in what you want to do. Yeah, I guess that's my opinion about it.
Thank you.
Nice.
Josh?
Yeah, so I guess from a perspective from a person studying computer science, which really looks like a math
A lot
major,
of math.
math major degree, fundamentally math teaches you how to solve problems, and that translates into having an entrepreneurial mind that solves real world problems. And that, I guess, is the problem with some people. Now, how would you be able to solve real life problems from an academic perspective? Because in school, you'll be taught how to solve problems using formulas. But in real life, that doesn't really work out. That is the essence of mathematics, and how it teaches us to solve problems that we have to find out with the tools that we have. It doesn't necessarily have to be a formula. It doesn't have to be a one-size-fits-all solutions. But it's something that you get to discover by diving deep into that problem and finding a good solution that will help benefit you, or maybe even people outside of your own.
So it's basically the discipline.
Yeah, the discipline, and I guess the love for solving problems.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh.
Okay, so if answering that question on math, I feel like for every subject naman, what students really have to do for every subject is to try to understand what it's actually trying to teach you, right? Kasi look, who would remember logarithms 10 years from now? But then, like they said, no, it's really all about problem solving. And I think math is one of those subjects na sabi nga ni Sir Vincent, it kind of helps you deal with pain. And I think it's also one of the subjects that will kind of tell you what you're good at and what you could use improvement on. And I think in the perspective of startups, knowing what you're good and bad at is really essential, because it helps you identify how you should build your team. Because say for example, you're good at programming, magaling siya sa finance, then it's best for you guys to team up. Pero if apat kayo na team and then lahat kayo finance, then the team kind of breaks down. Because why? Una, merong conflict of expertise, right? So if you think contrary to the other person's expertise, then that's a source of conflict. But then if it's different skill sets collaborating with one another, that's when the magic happens. And when I was first building the Dormy team, this was the first thing I had in mind. It's that, should I team up with people similar to me? The answer is no. And instead, we should team up with people who are complementary to our skills. And I think, extending on the conversation and discussion that Sir Vincent told us that we should have as Thomasian, is that I think this is one of the lacking things in the university. Because I think we all have seen it, the CFAT, CSCS. The colleges and faculties are very compartmentalized into their own world. As I think one of the biggest things that we have to address in the university. Because say, for example, in medicine, there's a lot of people who want to propose different health-related solutions. Like, just imagine if FMS was able to partner up with Sir Vincent's program. That would be under developmental pediatrics, right? And then we could collaborate with CICS for the programming of that module. So, knowing this, na team should be complementary to one another, I think this is one of the calls for the university to try to build on top of. Because, sadly, yes, we have great Thomasian founders, but then if you go out into the startup ecosystem, Sir Vincent, ilan yung Thomasian na may kita mo doon? Like, sobrang kaunti lang. In a single event, count with your hands, less than 10 yan, kung ilan yung mga Thomasian. So when we find a Thomasian in a startup event, you'll be quite surprised. Most of the time, it's your also typical LaSalle, Ateneo, UP, and then UST is quite missing in the picture. Kasi yun nga, one, there has to be more exposure. Two, there has to be more collaboration. And three, some sort of flexibility where people get to interact. Because the magic happens when people try to complement each other. And I think that's one thing that we need to build in UST and something that we should actively try to kind of expand.
Thank you. Robbie?
Yeah, thanks for those insights. It's fascinating how to see that the foundational experience is a very impactful for us in building our future paths, right? Now, how about
Robbie, excuse me. There's a note here that we have about...
Oh yeah, yeah. Would like to greet our viewers at the Facebook University of Santo Tomas. We have around 3,200 viewers right now. Say hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Robbie, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So moving forward, as I've observed earlier, what are the similarities among the things that you've mentioned is resilience and grief of a Thomasian, like whether it's through pain, failure, right? We try to make our own way. We try to solve, right? Even if we're not good at math, right? We try to collaborate. We know the value of different stakeholders, right? Like what Christina mentioned earlier, when she is a student council, right? You've coordinated with different people, right? Vincent, when he was trying to haggle and negotiate with his friends and other people, right? So moving forward now, reflecting on your journey thus far, what has been the biggest challenge you faced, and how did the UST's ecosystem help you overcome it? Anyone can answer first? Crit?
All right, so how UST, so biggest challenge is, securing the right resources. And very recently, Dormy was able to secure a multi-million grant from the UST, and we wouldn't get there without the endorsement of the TOMASInno Center. So very recent boost for us. So thank you, Ma'am Thelma. Thank you guys. So yeah, I think objectively, yun yung isa. And then second, biggest support is trying to understand customers deeper. Because I think when Dormy picked student housing as one of its core markets, there's 4 elements to it, right? So in a regular rental market, you have the landlord and a tenant. But then if you jump into the student housing ecosystem, there's the student, the school, the parent, and the landlord. So it expands into like 4 different user personas that you have to understand. And UST was able to kind of open up the doors on providing the perspective of the school. So Ma'am Thelma was able to get me a meeting with the Office of Student Affairs and the things that they're trying to do to kind of boost and make student housing more accessible. Because UST is a national school, international even. So there's a lot of requirements to kind of sustain that ecosystem. Because, people would come from the provinces, a good population of the students would be renting. And so that perspective from the academe, from the administration, is helping us develop the product with that in mind. So I guess on the perspective of Dormy and the problem that we're trying to solve in digitizing renting, we were able to get a deeper insight on how student housing functions in the eyes of the school. And the TIC was able to kind of open us up to that view.
That's us.
Thank you.
I guess one of the biggest challenges that we had was we were transitioning from being hackathon winners to be a startup. And this was really a hard challenge because, yeah, we did with the technical stuff, but how do we become a real business? This is a pain point that we really sought after. And through a lot of talks with people within our college, it ultimately led us to TIC. And TIC helped us from all the learnings and opportunities with having a co-incubation program with Startup Village, which is going to be monumentally helpful in our development as like individuals, but as an organization, like a startup in itself. And it becomes very challenging when you don't have the resources and especially the support, because it's a very challenging field, especially if you're a student, where you're trying to build up something while also academic and balancing your own academic responsibilities. Those things stack on top of each other. And I guess the gaps in between, that also adds up to what you want to do with your life and like having to enjoy, because I guess dumadami na eh. It gets hard exponentially. And with that, the support that TIC gives its incubatees really does do a lot of stuff on an individual level, and especially like the support, because it gets really hard, it gets tough, and having people here to listen, to help you out with your struggles, and to help you pivot to something else really does do a lot for the long run, especially on an, I guess, individual perspective.
Just for a beginner startup, what are the important resources that you need at this time?
Yeah. Yeah, so as a startup that hasn't really launched, the number one thing is a grant, like funding. So currently we're in talks with with an organization that would be providing grants, but in order to do that, you should be under an incubation, so that the money would not go directly to the people. Like for example, it won't directly go to me, but rather the incubation center where I'm currently at. That's why we really applied to TIC, and that's really as Kurt just mentioned, that's really tough, because having to start from nothing, you really need funding. Because if you want to get launched, you want people to use your software or application, that requires money. And does your pockets have that resource? Probably no. And that's where connections go in, like incubation centers, so that they would be able to help you find that initial investment to get you running. And at the same time, TIC also helps you how to do it right the first time around.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Josh?
I've got a follow-up question on that. Since you've experienced a lot of hackathons, right? What pushed you, or how did you learn about the startup ecosystem? Because there are hackathons wherein you go directly to corporations, to corporate companies. They offer you sometimes, right? Especially if you've been winning, right? So what enlightened you, or how did you learn about the startup ecosystem?
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to talk about something first. With people joining hackathons, what commonly happens is they join, they win, they get the money, and then from that money, they enjoy themselves, and probably they won't be able to develop it any further. I think that's very normal. And however, it's really sad, because these people get judged, they win the concept, like they win the competition, because these people, like the panel itself, the organization building that hackathon, finds value in that solution. That meaning that there is people that software or like solution can serve. And having to pivot from that, from having to win a hackathon, like serving a purpose, into making a real self-earning product is hard. That's why you really have to find like people that you would be able to connect with in order to make that transition. Because it's a hard transition. That's a lot of commitment out there. From like, for example, me. I was just a student that won a hackathon. Now I'm building a startup. That takes a lot of dedication, because that's just ultimately hours of you learning new stuff, at the same time developing it so that it would be profitable. And that in itself is really hard. That's why join incubation centers, like join TAC, guys, if you have a great idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be you have to win a hackathon. If you have a good idea, you've done your market research, you have your target audience, build your idea and go from there and ask guidance and help and join TIC.
How did you learn about the TIC?
Yeah, so we learned it from our CS department chair, Ma'am Cherry, ultimately led us to TIC. And from there, we were here, we got incubated, we joined Echelon recently with TIC, and we also joined Philippine Startup Challenge with TIC that ultimately really helped us from day one.
Nice.
Has there been any winnings?
Yeah, I guess currently we're also part of the BPI Data Wave Hackathon under the machine learning track, where if we're trying to develop a new machine learning algorithm to solve like credit worthiness. That's a new venture that the team and I have taken, and we're doing great so far. But also developing Clashbytes on the sideline. So probably doing two things at once while also still being a student. It's hard, but at the same time, that's like what we've talked about. It's all about grit and enjoying the process because again, these people are my friends, and at the same time, we spend nights until 5 p.m. 5 a.m. in the morning. 5 a.m. in the morning, coding, having fun, having a good time, enjoying the process. Still, like, we're still students at the end of the day, having fun.
Are they on the right track, Vince? Tingin mo,
Yeah. Is it third year student, right?
Yeah, we're third year CS students.
I mean, when we were third year students, iba eh.
There were
Iba.
no
They're
startups.
on the right track and they're way advanced.
Yeah.
In fact, if you would really look at them, they're high performers.
Mhm.
So these guys, currently they're getting the right support. But imagine this. We found out we have 3,200 viewers right now.
Mhm.
What if out of those 3,200 users can actually maximize the gamification through learning, so learning through gamification, and they contact them now? It would give actually a good traction for them. Or what
That's
if, for
right.
example, our alumni here are apartment owners, hindi malayo, di ba?
That's
Tapos
right.
pumunta sila sa dormy, tapos tinawagan, can we communicate with you and use your services? This would actually grow their traction significantly. Or perhaps they want to, for example, a building would want to upgrade the security. Di ba? Parang, for sure, out of those 3,000 people watching right now, and they
That's right.
contact the founders, yun yung connection eh. We have a lot of alumni.
That's true.
That's one of the things lacking. And we have that as a university. We have thousands of graduates of alumni that can actually help the startups through traction, di ba?
Mhm.
But they are on the right track.
Yeah. Even
Thank you,
outside the
thank you.
country, right?
Christina? Any challenges?
Like this.
Mahina lang. Yeah, for me, the biggest challenge, I guess, going back to my college days, I think it's very easy to excel, right? In this, it's like a bubble environment in college. But once you're out there, it's like you're competing in the real world. And yeah, it's just huge. It's too big. And the biggest challenge for me, I mean, I performed really well in my college days, and I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat right now. As Kurt said, it attracts certain people, right, to be this kind of performers. But out there, I had this very good resume, the right network because I'm from UST with Latin honors, so it would be very easy for me to apply for jobs right out of the college. But I actually ended up going to the States and never had an actual job here in the Philippines. So pag-graduate, I immediately went to the States and stayed there for the next 10 years. And I actually just went back here 2 years ago. And that's when I started my company, my startup. And the biggest challenge is network. That's very important because going back, right, I went to the US immediately. I'm no longer in touch with anyone I knew back then. So it's like my life is in the States, and now moving back, I didn't know anyone, right? And then I'm trying to start a company from scratch, and I don't even know, like, friends. I don't know where they are.
That's like a total reset.
Yes, total reset. So, and then I started going to these events, and I meet very special people like Vince, na pares pala kaming UST, so the bond immediately kicks in. And I think that was the anchor that helped me grow my network through the help of my co-Thomasians. Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge that I had that was able to that UST was able to solve for me. Like just finding the the Thomasians, like
Yeah.
where are they right now? And yeah, that's how business works, right? It's all about network. And I guess that's very important. If you're going to start a company, network is key. Yeah.
I'd agree. Okay. Did you also join the competition, the PLDT?
Yes.
Oh,
That's actually where we met, right?
Oh, nice. So there's like there are 10 winners. Is it correct? Top 10.
Top 10. Top 10.
How many Thomasians were within the top 10 back then? Wow.
Yeah, four Thomasians as a finalist.
So you got when you got in the competition and became like a top 10. Is it right then and there you've learned that out of these 10 people, 4 of them are Thomasian? Not right away.
Not yet. Yeah. But it's very easy to talk to Vince. That's why we were able to figure it out right away. Yeah.
So it's easier to connect with Thomasian without you even knowing it.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, to add on that, during that time, I think in a way we were able to meet each other because we were helping out each other. It's usually, it's common in the startup culture na hindi competition ang tingin. It's common here na, oh, how can I help you? It's collaboration. That's the difference between entrepreneurship that I know of and the startup scene. Why? Because everybody's pushing pataas. Tulungan talaga. And during the competition, it's a competition,
Yeah.
but everybody's wishing well. Everybody's saying that you could improve here, you could improve there. And it was a big help. And you can recognize from the culture. And at the same time, we were able to find out, oh, USD ka rin pala, apat pala tayo dito, or even more. And in fact, one of the organizers also is USD rin, si
Yeah.
Dara. So, and she has been really helping out a lot of startup people. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But going back to your question earlier, what are the challenges? So I would like to form my answer as challenges and how we can work on it, right? So the challenges first and foremost is resources. Yun nga, sabi, funding, pondo, grants, right? It's very surprising. Why? On other countries, let's say for example US, an idea alone can already be funded hundreds and thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, that's
Here
true.
in the Philippines, ibang challenge. But then again, we have hundreds of thousands of alumni who can actually support startup founders,
Your angel.
the angels. It's a great thing where we are right now. Why? Because we created just across España si Grace Hub. In fact, a few years back, wala pa si Grace Hub, right? And it's here now, and it can actually lessen down the expenses of founders. How? You have a place here. You have mentors available. You have a space available. Free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Diba? So,
Agree.
I mean, it can actually minimize a lot of things that if you add up, ang laking savings para sa startup. On the other hand, the network was discussed earlier. The Thomasian network, why not we create Thomasian Angels?
That's true.
Right? It's something that we could work on because there are entrepreneurs who are doing really well and they're just looking for investments right now. It's something that we can explore, right? Third, I think this is something already given by Grace Hub. Knowledge. I'm seeing right now a lot of trainings being done by Grace Hub.
Okay.
And these are very valuable. Ngayon, bakit hindi na ma-maximize ng students? These are free, right? Lessons. And you're getting it from top-notch entrepreneurs, from top-notch experts. And for them to maximize, they just need to go to the Facebook of Grace Hub or just cross UST, dun sa mataas na building, and they can already maximize it, right?
Agree.
Lastly is the exposure. Exposure is very important for startups. Why? Because if we are out there, we get to get more users, we get to get more customers, right? And that's what we call traction. The more users that we have using our app, paying us, the more we could grow faster. Apart from the funding, right? Kasi nagkakaroon ng, the product that we're offering is something different. Hindi siya yung typical na negosyo before na kumikita kapag ginawa kayo apartment, may kita ka, right? It's a tech. And the users are very important for us, not only to survive, but to grow. And we are actually using other technology from outside of the Philippines. Why not maximize the technology being provided by Thomasians as well?
That's true.
So I think those are the challenges that we can also find solutions on. Again, we have a problem, we have to find a solution. And the solution is there, right? So I think being entrepreneurs, we should look at it that way all the time. That's how habang ko magsalita. Thank you.
I love about your advocacy regarding supporting our fellow Thomasians, right? Because sometimes our resources are already right in front of us, but we're not able to recognize it right away, right? Until then, we realize that, oh, we need it. Let's go there. So it's a great insight. Exactly. Just overpass. We're here. Yeah, anyone can drop by for the TIC and the Grace Hub. Right, Sir Noel?
Okay. Robbie, I think I have a last question here. It is about problem solving within your business. No? So would you describe a typical problem solving, and well, if you can explain how your training in USC was able to help, that would be insightful as well. Problem solving on the programs, on the
Your
on
approach,
the
how it
customer
influenced.
acquisition, no, any
Kurt?
problem. Kurt?
Yeah, so at Dormy, one of the earliest problems that we had is what you call a chicken and egg problem. So it's a common thing when your business model is a marketplace. So imagine you're a tenant, you go to Dormy, walang properties. So ba't mo siya gagamitin? And then vice versa, if you're a landlord, you go in Dormy, there's no tenants using it, ba't mo siya gagamitin? So now you're playing this chicken and egg game that you don't know what to get first. Is it the tenants or the landlords? And so that's the reason why we spent the last year just doing social media work and hacking things as we go along. So for example, how Dormy really started was a Google form. So what we did is that we went to schools, set up small booths, and then put up a QR form and even sometimes paper that would ask students to write in yung preferences nila on rentals. We did the same in Makati and Taguig. So they would put, okay, this is my budget, this is my preferences of amenities, this is my preferred location. And turns out we were able to get 4,700 respondents from that. And so essentially, we solved the chicken and egg problem on one side. So we had a database of 4,700 sign-ups. Well, hindi siya sign-up, it's form fill-ups that would indicate their preferences. And so what we did is that we looked for properties that met their criteria, and then we slowly attempted to connect the two. And then we subtly mentioned, hey, you could get these leads if you sign up on the platform. And then as we went along and had these conversations with different properties, we added a marketing vertical for our startup. So you could find us on Facebook, on TikTok. Our SEO scores on Google is quite high already. So we've gotten to a point where Dormy is generating 2 million impressions across all social media platforms each month. And this has led us to work with big name brands, so like big four development corporations. And so this opened up the door to kind of like introduce the resolution to that chicken and egg problem. So acquisition is finished, and the problem that we're facing ahead is monetizing tech. So I think what's important with startups is that the reason why they're valued significantly higher when compared to traditional businesses like coffee shops is that you play the game of what you call economies of scale. So, for example, take Grab, right? Grab only has to build the app and develop the network of drivers and riders. And then it survives on its own. All you have to do is keep patching bugs and then perhaps introduce features later on. So they could easily expand with, say, 100 to 300 employees. But then when you think trying to build the next Jollibee, you have to think of construction, logistics. For every branch that you expand, your margins are quite fixed. I think the best example of this is Instagram. I think Instagram was acquired for $1 billion by Facebook, and then they had 13 employees. So that's the definition of economies of scale. So the problem for every startup is to try to get to that point of economies of scale by what we call achieving product market fit, right? Where the demand is pulling instead of you pushing your product to them. And that requires customer understanding talaga. So I think one of the most common reasons why startup fails is because there's really no market need for their product. Let's say, for example, I pitch to you, I'm making AI for coffee. So it sounds cool on paper, but does anyone actually need it, right? So this is one of the first things that are taught in TIC. So they'll force you to do customer interviews. I think it's 50 interviews, right? Prof? So to try and understand their side of the picture. And I think one of the most important things to do when you're at the customer discovery stage is to not tell them, hey, I made Dormy. Gagamitin mo ba to? It's not like that, right? So what you do is you talk to them and say, could you run me through how you generate or attract tenants into your property? And then we try to look for yung mga gusot-gusot in that process. And then that's where we try to enter. And I think, the fundamentals that are first taught in TIC is quite helpful. And at the same time, the main theme of the university experience in UST is to knowing how to deal with pain. Kasi say, for example, you talk to 50 people, sabihin natin here in UBelt, na mga landlords or dorm owners. You will get shunned. So you knock the door, and then they're like, wala dito may so that's how you face rejection, right? And I think that's one of the core fundamentals as well that we should learn, or at least adapt in UST, is that people should be comfortable with failing in that pain process in order to move forward from it. Because nothing ever really comes easy, right? And I think that's one of the main things that are covered by the university itself. So both good and a bad thing, but at the end of the day, canon event mo yun. You know what I mean? So I think that's it from me.
Thank you, B. Thank you, Kurt.
Great insight.
Yes, very good insight. You should see actually the Dormy.ph. No, very helpful. No, I had really experience using it with my nephew. No, who is looking for space around, and given all the reviews and everything, voila, she was able to do it.
Yeah, it's as if you've co-created your business with your customer, right? Because you actually went there. You went outside, you didn't create a solution or build it without talking to them. You were talking to them while you're also creating it, instead of a solution in search of a problem. That's good. Let's move on to Josh.
Yeah, so I guess for startups, one of the major problems, like what Kurt said, is like finding that market, because you have to do the market validation of your solution. Does your solution really do provide value to this customer, like subset of people that you've chosen? That's why you have to invest yourself into a lot of research, which was one of our major problems, most recently, because we're targeting quite a large age group while also providing opportunities of work. So imagine like 13 years old finding work because they're already a top performer within the platform. That's kind of questionable. So it goes back to finding that niche, that specific market, and then validating if it's going to work out. Because at the end of the day, the worst case scenario for a startup is a solution in search of a problem, which is common for startups, because they try to fit, first develop a solution, then they're trying to find their audience, not the other way around. So yeah, for our case, it was very hard. We had to talk to a lot of students and to a lot of teachers. And one of the most common questions is, are we going to replace education? Of course, no. Our main goal is to aid education, not replace it. But we do want to provide opportunities, because we do want to bridge that education to employment gap by having these specific features within our platform. But I think it's very important as a e-learning platform, we educate, but not replace education as a whole. Because still, there's a lot of things you can learn with a college degree, but we want to aid that in itself.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Very insightful. Christina, any problems so far or problem-solving instances?
Okay, so with problem solving, as I said, in CFAD, we always have this user-centered design principle, right? But if you think about it, then you go start asking people question or your target customers. You go ask them question about what they want, but that's not enough, right? Because if, as Henry Ford said, if he just asked what people wanted back then they would say they want faster horses, right? So he would, what he ended up is doing is innovating, right? Providing something much better, because initially your target customers may not know what they want. They know what they need, right? But you as the entrepreneur, the founder, what sets you apart is you have this ability to visualize a product that doesn't exist yet, right? And another ingredient is to actually find people who can actually help you build that vision, right? And that's what you offer. So when you're solving a problem, it's not, you shouldn't just look at it as, okay, we're gonna do a market research, ask our customers what they want. You actually, because if you just ask what they want, then there are many other similar to you trying to solve this problem who will come up with a similar solution, because you're asking the same people, right? But what can you visualize? Like, what would be the solution? That's where innovation comes in. And so with problem solving, it is important that you mix it with innovation. And that's what we did with what we're building at Alerto, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, thank you.
They have great answers. And I agree and resonate with both points. But what Kurt did was great. They ask users as objective as possible. At the same time, from asking the users, they did not think of a solution agad. So what happened is, they created a sort of a community that they can tap. At the same time, kasi when we talk about research, nakakatakot eh.
Yeah.
Right? Ooh, expensive. Ooh, I need experts. No? But we start with asking our customers, right, as objective as possible and not making judgment. Right?
Correct.
Because as researchers, we need to hear what, kasi if you ask them, what do you want? Oh, I want this, I want that, I want A. After 10 years, di ka pa nakagawa ng produkto kasi dami lang
That's
gusto. But you have to listen on their answers and from there, innovate. Diba? It's part of the ideation process as well. Anyway, with regards to the problem-solving matter, for me kasi, the product that we have is a product that we also ask our users. One good thing about my company, Mylo, is that I have direct access. Initially, no access, right? But because the challenge is my life, is my son's life, I get to connect with users. I get to ask them, gaano ba kahirap? And I get to answer, oo, talaga mahirap. Kasi pati ako nararanasan ko eh. So, but then again, it's also very hard to be not biased. Because I want something that would help me.
Yeah.
Right? So there has to be balance in terms of problem solving. That's from the ideation, finding inspiration and ideation phase. On the other hand, having a startup also has different challenges day to day. Sabi nga, pinapatay mo yung sunog habang may another sunog eh, di ba? So, and it's really great to have a community of startup founders who would actually guide you on what the next steps are. Those are incubators, those are accelerators, those are other startup founders. And this community is very much helpful with each other. Tutulungan talaga. Now, let's say for example, you have an idea. I want to create the next Airbnb, la 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 la. Wait. Ang mahal na agad ng tinitingnan mo. Kasi gagawa ka ng Airbnb. Itong module, 500,000. Next module, la 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 la. You created a very nice product. But there's already a number one there. Lalabanan mo ba yun? Diba? Where you look for a niche, right? So, again, if you try to find the set of people who has that challenge, who has that problem, you already have your first group of loyal users. And this group of loyal users would tell you, labas ako ng content. Ay, hindi ko gusto. Labas ako ng content. Bakit wala kang sign language? Right? So, it's not what they need, but they're telling us very valuable information that you would actually pay for kapag nag-research ka. The only difference is they're giving it to you for free. Right? Because you have users to ask. Right? So, defining the problem, I think would be much easier if you already have a community. And again, I agree with Ken earlier. It's much better to start solving a problem. I call it this way. You have a problem to be solved or a eureka idea. There are successful startup companies coming from eureka ideas. But majority of successful ones are coming from problems being solved. So, yun siya.
Has there been any instance where you have to pivot your technology because of customer insights, needs, or what?
Yeah. Pivot, if we look at it, kapag narinig mo pivot, parang it's something bad, right? But no. Pivoting can be two ways. Pivoting because you're trying to go a different direction, or pivoting because you want to upgrade. Right? So, pivot, yes. But for Mylo, Mylo is a very fortunate startup. We're 1 year old. We were able to grow and supported by people, supported by Mamshis. It's very surprising that in one room, multiple people knows the challenges of being a parent with special needs. So ngayon, nangyayari, whenever we're in a group of people, there are supporters talaga. And we're very lucky for 1 year, tuloy-tuloy yung growth. On the other hand, question.
Is there an instance where you have to pivot because of
Yeah.
a customer insight?
So now, we're pivoting. In a way, we're upgrading. We started with an app, Mylo Speech Buddy. In the next few months, we're building Mylo Connect, which is connecting doctors, speech therapists, therapy centers, and users. Why? Because we want to, number one, help the therapists get more business, and the doctors too. At the same time, help the parents. And after that, we'll be building our, we're stepping back a bit and building our therapy centers, learning centers. So it's not a pivot, but we heard our users. We know na saan bang kailangan ng tulong.
Yeah.
Alam ba natin na from our back-end dashboard, we can able to see like Quezon City needs one, like Pasay needs one. Kulang na kulang yung services there. So that tells us that it's actually an additional service that we can provide to our users. So that's a pivot, that's an upgrade.
Very important insight.
Yeah, that's nice. I think one of the things that was that I've observed is that it was a good choice for you to the problem that you've choose is that you have an easy access or resources, right, for the people, because you can easily empathize with them, right? So empathy with everyone made it a little more like it attracted a lot of people who have the same problem, and it helped you gather a lot more insights than what you have.
Yes, and out of 4, apat answered the call eh. Right? Kurt answered the call, nahirapan maghanap ng dorm, nagtanong sa users ng dorm. Christina, security, sinagot. Ako, sa anak ko. So I live, more than the empathy, I live this life every day. So, hindi lang siya, I mean, talagang buhay namin, di ba? So, I agree with that.
So, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear a brief final thought from each of you. Now, looking forward, how do you see your relationship with UST evolving as your startup grows? And what are your hopes for the future collaboration or support? Okay, Vince?
Nagulat ako sa relationship. Kala ko relationship. No, just kidding. Again, if we see it right now, it's great. UST is taking action. UST is growing. Grace Hub is here, right? The faculty actually looks at the startup scene already. And we have to look at it this way. We have thousands of alumni, thousands of students. I guess we should open up the collaboration.
Yeah, even Cerebro is also collaborating with us.
Yes,
Yes.
Cerebro. And at the same time, collaboration is very important. For example, yung sabi ni Christina kanina, and Kurt and Kenjo kanina, what if the CFAD people collaborates with, for example, HRM students and design, the architecture guys as well, and design their restaurants? What if the accounting guys communicate with the guys from HRM and actually help out in standardizing the finance and accounting? What if the computer guys, di ba, parang nakatira kayo sa isang bakuran, magtulungan kaya kayo?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it's something that, I mean, isn't it like very nice to see that we're building homegrown startups, not because we're competing with each other, but we're collaborating with each other? If we had it during our time here, you would be surprised,
I'd agree.
right?
Yeah. Something I've seen in the US, the way the universities work. So doon, di ba, you want to get into Harvard, or you want to be in Stanford. And because it comes with something, value, just knowing that you graduated there, you have the network. It makes you, your success more possible, whatever you're trying to do. And I hope that's something that we also have here in UST, na yung mga mag-apply pa lang ng college, why would you choose UST? Well, because I know I'll be 99% successful if I choose UST, right? Because they have these programs and all that. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have a startup, there is this community of alumni angels that could actually invest in what you're building, or they're already at the top of the corporate ladder who can actually provide more opportunities and funding or partnership, and many more. It's just a matter of organizing all these resources that all of us can actually take advantage, so that we can become more successful in what we're trying to do. And yeah, because at the end of the day, everything that we're doing, Startup Founders, is actually for the betterment of our nation din naman. So I hope we get the support for that.
Actually, those are good calls, right? Because there are also Thomasians outside the country who have enough funds or resources. There's who's just looking for companies to invest in, right? So that's actually a good suggestion of Thomasian angels, right? Or like a startup for ecosystem here in TIC, right? So those are great suggestions and great inputs.
And interns as well. We're open for
So we're calling interns. Yeah.
Yes, I guess for our college, there really has been a paradigm shift towards the support that students have been receiving in joining hackathons. Because I guess the previous year we really didn't have. It was very minimal. We joined because we were just interested on an individual level. But now I see people joining hackathons in our college to represent their own, like the university itself, and that in itself is a great paradigm shift. Now there's a lot of like the college in itself is being more supportive. Like the people behind behind them are willing to support, provide them help, and we also have TIC that guides them along the way. That in itself I see is something monumental, because from where I started, it was very limited. The resources were scarce, and it mostly revolved around you being curious, you wanting to try things out, and you finding those answers for yourself. But now there's a lot of guidance, there's a lot of help, there's a lot of people, and we also have Grace Hub, we have TIC, and the people around the UST ecosystem to help you up, because you're representing not only yourselves, not only your college, but the entire university in itself. And where I see myself within the next, I guess, 2 years, I still have like my senior year, I'll be still staying in TIC, developing my idea into a reality, and hopefully we would be able to change, I guess, the millions of developers out there studying how to code, and probably the new batch of developers that we can create along the way.
Thank you, Joss. Looking forward to your pitching and graduation.
Yeah.
Kurt?
Alright, so as someone na nasa poder pa ng UST, I'm gonna make this call. If UST wants to present a brand where it's a school of innovation, it has to learn how to take risks. Because as an institution, there are a lot of controls in place, right? But innovation usually thrives in the gray areas. And which is why the identity of startups are, they're change makers, but there's a fine line between bending some stuff in order to achieve an end, right? So what are examples of risk-taking sa student level, right? What I'm doing is I'm risk-taking. What he's doing as a student is risk-taking. We could all just focus on academics, but then we end up trying to build things that leave an impact in the world, right? On the administrator level, what are examples of risk-taking? Massive risk, copy NUS in Singapore, develop a university venture capital fund. That's one, right? So the image of the school is only really as powerful as how the image of the alumni are, right? So you go back in the 1600s, 1800s, right? So the image of UST was very powerful because you built people or brought into the world the likes of Rizal, right? The likes of Quezon, because these are people who left an impact in the world. But then they wouldn't be historical without the risk that they took, right? I mean, si Rizal, namatay nga, diba? So, but on the university level, yun, examples of big risks, a Thomasian angel network where they facilitate transactions between Thomasian startups, legal support for startups, funding opportunities from a university venture fund. So schools abroad, like say for example in France, they would give student ideas 10,000 USD just to build an idea, right? So essentially, for us to really be change makers, we really have to expose ourselves to risk. And that applies for everyone. And on the students, no? So you have to risk kind of building up your brand, making random friends, networking with other students. And on the academic level, we should, one risk is kind of like lessening parts of the academic load and then improving on opportunities to explore other ideas of students. So essentially, the core message is there, right? So innovation thrives in places where people are empowered and enabled to do it. And the only way for that to happen is when people start to take risks and when people are able to build in environments where there's a sandbox to play it. Kaya nga sandbox, right? So you soften the blow, you make things easier, you build for a better world, and that entails risk-taking, building the right resources, building a culture of innovation, and eventually building the roadmap for UST to become one of the top innovative schools in the world, well, not just in the Philippines, but that entails biting some painful bullets for the sake of thriving later on. Because, like I said, I think one of the common themes of this conversation was, in order to thrive, you have to deal with some type of pain, right? And that's what we want, right? Not pain for the sake of pain, but pain for the sake of growth. And I think we're in the early stages. We just have to kind of light that spark and keep adding more timber into the burning fire so that the fire never stops. And eventually, bonfire na yan. So happy tayong lahat. Right? So I think that's the core message that I want to leave. In order to build an innovation culture, take risks. And that's how we get started.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Kurt.
you. Thank you for the wonderful message. Right, so innovate. Right. So for the last one, you'd like to promote your startups?
Oh, okay. So my startup is Mylo Speech Buddy. You can just search Mylo Speech Buddy in Google Play Store, App Store, Facebook. But can I also add something? A call to action. How easy would can Thomasians help out startups? Network effect. There are 3,000 viewers right now. If there are property owners, just tag Dormy and tag the property owner. That's easy. That's a couple of buttons pressed, and that's also a lead for them. If you're a teacher and you want to level up learning, contact Ken. If you want to upgrade your security through an app, contact Alerto. And if you want to help kids with the speech delay, just go to Mylo Speech Buddy. So I think that's my call to action, especially just tag, go to our website, email us, and that's very important. And these are the other speakers.
Thank you. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah, I think, for us, I would like to propose that Alerto convert UST into a smart university. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope we can work on that. And that's the start, because once we convert it, then all the students will take benefit of it. Yeah. For their safety from emergencies and disasters and everything else. Yeah.
Sige. Thank you. Thank you, Christina.
Currently, Clashbytes is still in development, but hopefully we would be able to launch by January. And upon communicating to my professors who have been teaching the first year of the CICS students, hopefully we get implemented into the curriculum in order to help the students to learn how to code in a fun and more interactive way, so that the start of their journey as the new set of developers for the future starts with us in a fun, competitive, and engaging way. And hopefully even through the senior high school department and even the junior high school, we would be able to be implemented so that they would be able to have these resources and these value addeds in order to help them boost the career paths available to them. Because we see as an e-learning platform inside an educational institution, it could serve a lot of students. We can serve 40,000 students who are eager to learn. Because again, we want to be the ones to start for them how to learn. So yeah, that's Clashbytes to you guys.
All right, so my startup is Dormy PH, so we digitize renting. So for students, the easiest way that you could help us is you go to your reception area, tanong nyo, nasa Dormy na po ba kayo? So they're gonna start thinking and then they're gonna sign up, right? So it helps us prime them, because when they're familiar with the brand, they're more willing to test things out. So in the next few months, we'll be testing our online transaction features, which I hope will make life easier for all students. Like for example, naputulan ako ng kuryente, di ko na bayaran eh. Pero if that was automated, that's part of it, diba? That would be nice. And for those who know any dormitory or condo owners who would want to digitize, please redirect them to me or make them visit dormy.ph, but preferably to me at my email, kurt@dormy.ph. So including all of you in the audience out there, if you know any landlord in the Metro Manila area who would want to digitize renting and their lead process for generating tenancy leads, throw them to me. And of course, the final note of the day for the university, for the students, like I said earlier, let's all learn how to take risks because the rewards may be worth it in the end. So thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Josh. Ma'am Christina, thank you. Sir Vince, thank you. Thank you for inspiring you with your stories. The reason why we have it live, why we're recording it, because aside from the live show, we are sharing it in our Entrep Mind classes. So they'll get to know you and hopefully support you. Support the ecosystem. So again, thank you very much. Robbie?
I'd like to thank you. And now I think we should proceed. We invite you to our next session or event here, the networking session. All right. Thank you so much for our panelists. Thank you for our viewers.
So thank you. Thank you also to our viewers.
Thank you, guys.
Telma the awarding. Telma, awarding na tayo.
Oh yeah.